There we are. Let's talk to the Right Honourable Nigel Evans, who was, of course, the Deputy Speaker in the House of Commons. And a very good morning to you, Nigel. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, we have to start, I'm afraid, with old Lindsay Hoyle and the criticism that he's facing at the moment. I mean, you've done that job, so you know, I'm sure, that it's not easy to do, and I don't wish to be unkind to him. But he does seem to be slightly, shall we say, reluctant to press the Prime Minister to answer questions. I think the last time Keir Starmer answered a question was about 1958 or something.
Yeah, I was at
his mum saying, "You're coming in for dinner."
I was at a meeting with Kemi Badenoch earlier this week, and she was joking that she said, "I'm going to do Prime Minister's questions tomorrow, and I think I'll just ask him, do you know what your name is? And see if I can get a straight answer from him." The reality on the Speaker that's very interesting, he literally does not have the power to say to, let's say it's the Prime Minister, "Prime Minister, you've just been asked a question about Peter Mandelson. You now must answer about Peter Mandelson." Ministers, including the Prime Minister, are responsible for their own answers. And it's then up to everybody else to work out exactly whether the Prime Minister is being either truthful or accurate, or whether he's deflecting. I mean, we saw that wonderful question just over a week ago from Andrew Snowden, the Tory MP for the Fylde in Lancashire, who literally, thinking on his feet, said, "Prime Minister, you were asked a question about Mandelson. You answered about Iran. You were asked again about Mandelson, but you then referred to the Shadow Justice Secretary." It went on and on and on, and it was quite obvious, and everybody just loved it because basically Andrew Snowden was enunciating whatever the frustration for everybody.
Yes,
is that, listen, Prime Minister, you've just been asked a direct question. Why don't you try answering it?
Yeah.
And just to correct Lee as well earlier on, to say that it's impossible to get rid of a speaker, it's not. Michael Martin was Speaker of the House of Commons famously during the expenses scandal, and he handled it so badly that basically he'd lost. If you remember, there were early day motions down in Parliament about lack of confidence in him. And in the end, the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition basically tapped him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I actually remember seeing Michael Martin. I was walking down the shadow cabinet corridor, which overlooks the entrance to Speaker's house. And that's where the Speaker has his car parked. And I looked down this day, and I could see the assistant to the Speaker with the Speaker putting his suitcase in the boot of the car. And I thought, that's a bit strange. They shook hands, and off went Michael Martin.
Yeah.
Normally, when they retire, they make a big announcement in the House of Commons. They do a parade where all the staff applaud them on their last day. There was none of that for Michael, and basically he left in shame. So there are ways, if you are not doing your job properly, there are tools where you can actually get rid of a
Although,
speaker.
was he not actually kind of involved in some way? Did he not claim for some things that he shouldn't have been claiming for as well? So he was kind of mixed up in the expenses scandal to some extent. And John Bercow as well. He was not sort of forced out, but he kind of was persuaded out, wasn't he?
And now apparently earning a decent salary doing lots of various things. So it's not just Angela Rayner, Mike, that's...
No, in fact, I did a show with John Bercow at the Edinburgh Fringe a couple of summers ago. Alex Salmond organised it, and he played the role of the Speaker in a kind of a debate where it was me and David Davis against Alex Salmond and Mick Lynch from from the rail unions, and the only guy that wouldn't join us for dinner afterwards was Mick Lynch.
Well, to be honest, I've not seen John Bercow since he left the House of Commons. This second job lark, I got to say, for a lady who was totally opposed to second jobs before, now she's got about 3 jobs. Well, of course, she had multiple houses, and that's where the rot set in there.
You've got one job for every house. You know, still got another job to get, basically.
But yeah, this
amazing
podcast thing, raking in yet more money. I mean, it's incredible.
I know, staggering. Let's talk about the phone situation, though, because Times today's got a story saying, and I know you've been tweeting about this, Peter Mandelson's personal phone has not even been examined by the police. We've got, I don't know whether you believe the story or not. If you do, I may have to change my view of you. But the idea that we're supposed to buy that Morgan McSweeney had his phone nicked, never had any backup on it, and now doesn't know what to do about not being able to retrieve the messages that was on a government phone. I mean, it's right to say, I think, isn't it, that if you have a government phone, of course it's supposed to be backed up. How can it not be backed up?
I think it says a lot about the credibility of this government when you're in a situation where over 200 mobile phones are stolen every day in London.
Yeah.
And so Morgan McSweeney offering the excuse that his phone has gone missing should be acceptable to everybody. I haven't spoken to one person yet who believes his phone was stolen. You've even got a Labour MP, Carl Turner, tweeting that, and he calls him McSwindle, that he doesn't believe that the phone has been stolen. So it actually, this is at the very crux of the belief in government these days, that now nobody believes that whilst it's incredibly likely that you'll get your phone stolen in London if you're on it, and somebody on a bicycle will come and get and remove it from your hands, nobody believes that that is the case. And the real problem for McSweeney is that the transcript by the Met between McSweeney and the police, at no stage did he say, well, he did say it was a government phone. Yeah. He didn't say, by the way, I am the chief of staff to the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. There'll be a lot of sensitive stuff on that phone. Can you sharply look into this matter for me? He didn't. Yeah. He just said it's a government phone. He even got the area where it was stolen wrong by about 5 miles.
Yes.
Everything about it stinks, and that's part of the problem.
Well, I'm going to put this to you, right? How about the phone didn't get stolen at all, but somebody in Downing Street said, here's what you do, because we've now got some problems with this character Mandelson, why don't you tell them, in case they come looking for your phone, that your phone's been stolen. And that way, when they do come looking for your phone, you can say, oh, look, I reported it, because this is exactly what Keir Starmer has said yesterday when he was up at Helsinki. I don't know why he went to Helsinki. But have a look in a minute at his explanation. Charlotte, can you manage to play old Starmer in Helsinki, talking about, you know, why he now, I mean, I don't know what kind of lawyer this guy is, right? But he basically thinks that because it was reported stolen, it must have been stolen. You know, thanks Dixon of bloody Dock Green. Have a look.
And just finally, critics say that the theft and botched investigation of your former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney's phone, stinks of a cover-up. Can you understand why people are suspicious about his phone being stolen just as the Mandelson scandal was unfolding?
Well, the phone was stolen. It was reported to the police. There's a transcript of the call in which Morgan McSweeney gives his name, his date of birth, the details of the phone, and the police confirm that it was reported. Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened. And the idea that somehow everybody could have seen that sometime in the future there would be a request for the phone is, to my mind, a little bit far-fetched.
Forensic.
He finds it far-fetched. What about the rest of us? You know, there's a great super
forensic.
Chat.
It's forensic. Thank goodness he was Director of Public Prosecutions when nothing came across his desk. That was a problem.
Right.
I mean, I also love the fact that Starmer's standing in front of a ship there. He's probably gone to Helsinki to look at what a ship looks like. You've asked for suggestions of the name of a ship. How about HMS Invisible?
Very good. I've got this.
That sums up. It just sums up the Royal Navy at the moment. It's embarrassing.
I know. This sums up the mood of the nation, right? This is from Voice for England. McSweeney's phone was nicked by Amelia Earhart, taken to Narnia, stashed with Excalibur, the WMDs from Iraq, and Jimmy Hoffa. Bring on 2029. I mean, that's the level of credibility that this government has got now.
Mike, one of the early scandals, you mentioned it earlier with Lee, was Louise Haig's missing phone.
Yeah.
And she reported it stolen, so therefore it must have been stolen until it wasn't stolen. And
in fact, the real clue, this is how clever these government ministers are, the real clue about the fact that it wasn't stolen was that she reported it stolen using the stolen phone. Right? So they went, hang on a minute. we've got this message from you from the phone that you say was stolen. Huh?
Yeah, I think now the police, the Met, should be really interested in what's happened to the stolen phone. I know normally they don't bother turning up to stolen phones because there's just simply too many of them. A mate of mine had his phone stolen and tracked it down on his computer and told the police this is where the phone is, and they still wouldn't turn up.
No. Well, I mean, I imagine that also he probably had it backed up, didn't he?
Well, it should have been backed up, but now we're learning news that even Peter Mandelson's private phone hasn't been looked at. Well, I'm afraid it all needs to be looked at. We need to see all the messages. Where Streeting was able, wasn't he, to produce some WhatsApp messages between himself and Peter Mandelson? But part of the problem is with WhatsApp that they use a very sophisticated disappearing message encryption system, which clearly you should not be using on government phones.
No.
There should be a trail. When in the previous government, I think there was, it may have been Suella Braverman that was using private email addresses, and there was fury about it because they said, no, there has to be a trail. And in this case, of course, very conveniently, the trail has gone dry. And why? Because the phone has gone missing. And it is very, very convenient. It's not far-fetched, Prime Minister, if you're listening to this programme from Helsinki. It's not far-fetched at all because even one of your own members of Parliament, Carl Turner, thinks that it's not been stolen, and I haven't spoken to a single person yet who doesn't believe that that phone has been deliberately put somewhere or it's disappeared conveniently. That's all the people that I talk to believe that that's what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody else would get away with it. Nobody in the real world would get away with that kind of excuse. It's absolute nonsense. You know, the dog ate my homework. Next, Rachel Reeves would go, the dog's eating the budget. You know, so I can't. Yeah, I wish somebody would eat her actually, and then maybe she would just disappear. But you know, we're told this morning that we are now going to be the worst recipients of this economic crash, which is coming across the world, because our kind of ability to withstand economic pressure is less than everybody else's. All of our petrol prices are higher, our heating prices are higher, inflation is going to be worse. You know, why is Britain in such a bad way?
Well, you can look perhaps no further than number 11 Downing Street and also The Madness of Miliband. It's a great Netflix movie there in the making, The Madness of Miliband, because of his obsession with net zero. So we are paying more for energy than our competitors in the rest of the world, but of course our biggest competitors in the European Union, and we're just paying a lot more for our energy. At the same time, you've got a Chancellor of the Exchequer who is hell-bent on putting as many burdens onto entrepreneurs and businesses as you possibly can. So for all the entrepreneurs that are still in the United Kingdom, because as you remember over the last 12 months, Mike, 16,000 millionaires and billionaires have left the United Kingdom for distant shores where they will not be punished and penalized. They will not be paying huge sums of taxation on their wealth. And instead of which, of course, we've got Rachel Reeves then penalising everybody who's left with increases on employers' national insurance when they said they wouldn't increase them, business rates increases which are eye-watering, particularly if you're in the hospitality trade. If you happen to own a pub, and they're closing at the rate of well over one a day now in the United Kingdom, all these extra costs on businesses, and it's no wonder that every month since Starmer took over as Prime Minister, unemployment's gone up, youth unemployment's gone up, and now we've got more than 600,000 extra people who are claiming personal independence payments. 600,000 extra, Mike. These are the long-term.
That's a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah, that's an awful lot of people.
Well, it's bordering on 4 million people that we're paying over £400 billion. I've got to get it right. 400 billion in benefits to people.
Yeah.
And last month, Rachel Reeves borrowed £14 billion, of which 13.4 billion of that went on interest payments for the amounts of money that we're borrowing. Just think about that for a second.
I know.
It's just totally unsustainable.
You wouldn't put her in charge of a Welk stand, would you? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Lee Harris still with me. I don't know if you've got any money left and you fancy going on holiday. That's going to get back worse as well. According to the Telegraph today, you're going to face airport delays of up to 4 hours coming up. if you go into the EU countries, because apparently you have to be photographed and fingerprinted under this new kind of, border system, the new biometric entry system. I mean, we keep being warned about this. It doesn't always happen, does it? I mean, quite often. I mean, for example, when we first left the EU, it was great because whenever I went anywhere, the non-EU queue was completely empty.
Yeah.
And the EU queue was full of all these idiots from the EU.
Yeah.
So you used to actually go through quicker.
And it's completely optional.
Yeah.
The countries that take part in that do not have to do these additional security checks if they don't want to.
Right.
So I see it as kind of a punishment for Brexit.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Nigel, we've seen this before, haven't we, with some European countries, particularly the French. They love punishing you for leaving the European Union, and they don't have to do any of this, do they?
No, I remember once famously writing to the Portuguese ambassador because I had to queue up for well over an hour to get into Portugal.
Yeah.
And I said, Ambassador, we are your oldest diplomatic partners. We love Portugal. There's a ton of Brits who've got houses in Portugal. Why don't you allow Brits to do what we allow Portuguese and EU citizens to do, which is to use our e-gates.
Yeah.
And part of the problem, Mike, though, because as you know, I've been to Athens recently, and the queues to get out of Athens, right? This is to get out. I want to go home. The queues there I've experienced it well over an hour. It's because of the new entry and exit scheme that's been introduced by the European Union, and it's not been introduced well. It's been a botched introduction. Lee's right, they don't have to do it. They've got the power to suspend it far quicker if they just have the Homeland Security or whatever it is in those countries stamping the passports as quickly as they possibly can. But it's not beyond, you don't have to be Einstein to work out that if you ask everybody who stands in front of one of these Homeland Security people, could you please stand in front of the camera? No, further back. Right, could you put your fingerprints, please, on this screen? No, your left hand. No, your right hand. And all that, right? It takes time.
Yeah, I know.
It takes time.
It's like these people that are standing in a queue to get through security, right? For about 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then they get there and then they start taking their belts off and, and you're going, why didn't you just do that when you were in the queue, you complete and utter idiot?
No, but you're right, Mike. The reality is, and during the Brexit negotiations, as you remember, MPs who were Remainers were constantly on the Eurostar, going to Brussels, telling Michel Barnier, please punish us more, make it really difficult for people in the United Kingdom because they have had the audacity in a referendum to decide to leave the European Union. And so I'm afraid there were a lot of people there who wanted Brussels to punish us, but don't worry, Keir Starmer is salami slicing Britain back into the European Union. We will be paying billions of pounds that we haven't got of British taxpayers' money in order to sign up to all the rules and regulations which our Parliament has never passed. I mean, it's appalling what the
It really is.
Government
And have you seen that long list of stuff, foodstuffs and various other, mechanisms of kind of conduct that we're supposed to buckle under to? I mean, it's as long as your arm. And it covers all sorts of ludicrous things which you wouldn't think needed covering, which is just going to cause problems for people in business, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. We've got all the opportunities for Brexit, and they were badly taken in 2000 in the negotiations, 2016 to 19. We know that because we didn't have a majority in Parliament to get it through. It was only when Boris called the early election, which he managed finally to get through, because we had that useless fixed-term Parliament Act, which prevented him from calling an early election. But he managed to get the election. He got a majority of 80, and then we were able to leave the European Union. But I'm afraid, as I say, I mean, all these advantages that are there, we're told that, for instance, on artificial intelligence, which has got to be the fastest growing area of industry where we need to really get ahead of the game, the European Union is one of the more sclerotic areas around the world with it, because they are heaping on extra rules and regulations. They just don't want to see it advance. Now, we have got the opportunity to really steal a march in it. And we are I think behind the United States and China, we are the third country as far as advancing on artificial intelligence. If we can make advances there, it's going to be great for the United Kingdom. Why can't we do it everywhere else as well? I mean, Britain decided to leave the racket, as I call it, of the European Union. Now we could take those advantages and really start to do aggressive trade deals with everybody around the world. Why should we suck up to the European Union when we import way more of their goods than they ever do of ours? I mean, literally. So they want to punish us. Why? Do you know, I'm a member of like the RAC club in London and the Groucho Club. If they treated me as badly as the EU treat us, I'd sort of want to leave the club, wouldn't you?
You would.
I wouldn't be sucking up to them.
Yeah, no, start punishing you every time you turn up at the front door. You know, take you down for a punishment beating before they let you go and have lunch. You know, yeah, thanks very much.
Some people may like that.
But no, well, Keir Starmer clearly would. He wouldn't have to beat himself up then. He could somebody else could do it. Nigel Evans, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Nigel's nomination for the name of the ship, HMS Invisible, which I think is rather a good one there.
Good.
Paul says this on Twitter: "Oh, the irony of Brits having to have their photos taken and a biometric scan to get into EU countries. One word springs to mind: dinghies. What an absolute joke the British people and the British public have become." Nigel, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Speaker of the House